Welcome back to Self-Care for Healers online masterclass series. It is my privilege to introduce Carley Mattimore. Carley Mattimore is a spiritual midwife with over 35 years experience as a psychotherapist. She is the author of Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa, and she is in the process of writing her second book on the shamanic warrior of the heart. She's a shamanic minister, master shamanic breathwork facilitator, master shamanic Reiki practitioner, as well as a healing touch practitioner. Carley weaves together a shamanic understanding of personal and collective healing. Carley is co-founder of Ahara Spiritual Community of Venus Rising, located in Springfield, Illinois, where she and her husband have been offering psycho-spiritual workshops, events, and transformational tours to Africa. Carley graduated from the White Lion Leadership Training in Timbavati, South Africa, as well as the Lion-Hearted Leadership Practitioner Training. Carley Mattimore is also co-facilitates, along with Judith Coburn Blackburn, a global shamanic multidimensional mystery school. So, Carley, welcome.
Thank you, Peter. I'm delighted to be on today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, could you please tell us about your story and how you get into shamanic work and shamanic breath work?
That is a really big story, but I think we each have a really big story, and we don't always realize that it's shamanic. In fact, I didn't even know what shamanic meant, years ago. It's more recently, my understanding has grown to understand that it's really, it's really all of life. It's how we are, organic beings interconnected with, with all of nature, and all of the experiences that we have in life, all those trials and tribulations contribute to that, the alchemy of evolving into our authentic selves as we digest it and process it. That's shamanic, digesting and processing. So for me, it started with some really challenging, situations. I was the oldest in a family of 6 children, and I'm the oldest daughter, but there are 5 daughters and 1 son that my parents had. And, that in itself speaks volumes, because I started very much in that role of caretaker in my family. And then there were some hardships, when I was 9, my 3-year-old sister was hit by a car out in front of our house. And really, it was at a time where you couldn't go visit her in the hospitals because they didn't have that for siblings. So it was like several months that she wasn't expected to live. But that was like the first real striking, trauma, that was evident, in my psyche, as a child, understanding that she could have died and what that would have meant. And then it continued. I mean, I was 21 when my parents, having raised 5 kids, and actually my mother took in 22 foster kids in a period of like 4 years, because her heart was so big to want to support them. And it was just way too much because she already had all of these children to take care of, and there's no way she could really do that. So that affected things, but I was already in college at that point, so I was really disconnected, but during that time, my parents' marriage fell apart, and they started to, talk about getting divorced. And then my father and my sister were killed in a car accident. My sister was 13 years old. I was in college, like a junior in college. And several family members were critical, and took a long time to heal from that. They were actually on their way to see me when I was living in Iowa, and the accident happened on the way to visit me for Easter weekend. So it was very, very traumatic. And, that was hard because I had to jump right into taking care of myself. I was in school and felt the conflict of wanting to go home and take care of the family, but I really had to finish my education. So I just stuffed everything. My family did a really good job. My mother modeled it very well. Stuff it, put on your bootstraps, just behind you, you just move forward. So I learned to just keep moving forward. A very strong matriarchal lineage in my family. And then, fast forward, all that stuff is still stuck in my body, and I get married and, married a wonderful man. We had 2 children, and then he is killed in a car accident. So very sudden death, and that just threw me into stuffing it some more. I had to raise these 2 small children. I had to get on with my life. I went back to school. I remarried. He had 2 children. We had 1 child together. I raised 5 children, so all girls, but a lot of stress. And I thought, I was expanding and expanding and expanding. I was putting on weight. You could just see it. You look at pictures of myself during that time. I was a wonderful human being. Don't get me wrong. I did a lot of great self-care, but everything was stuffed in my body. Everything was held in there. And it wasn't just my stuff. As I started to explore more, I understand that there really is a shamanic lineage here, because not only did I experience loss and my children experienced loss. I married my second marriage. His father died when he was 3. My grandson, his father died when he was 3. It's like we had this lineage of trauma that was passed on. And so, by, understanding the bigger picture also of everything comes to us for us, an opening happened, and a workshop opened up for my husband to go to. And that workshop, was shamanic breathwork. And that in that breathwork, he came back from that breathwork as an all men's workshop. And he came back from Kansas City and he said, "Oh, Carley, this work is great. I can see you and I doing this work together." And I'm like, no, that sounds weird. I don't understand that stuff. But little by little, step by step, I found myself, attending these workshops and doing a shamanic breath work and finding that that was such a powerful technique because it helped me access, I grew up very, really kind of codependent, not kind of, I was codependent, but I couldn't really see that I was codependent. Codependent is relationship trauma. It's how you adapt and cope to life changes. And I carried all of that in my body. All that stuff was nice, tucked in. That grief was, compartmentalized. And I was a strong woman and functioning very, very well and very helpful to the people that I worked with. But I was only this far, and breath work and healing on myself helped me open up those channels and be able to see something in a way I'd never could have even possibly imagined, that how body, mind, spirit is so interconnected and that this is energy and energy is stuck in the body. So, it brought me to shamanic breathwork and it also brought me to energy healing because, I'm like, I went through a guided meditation that my good friend Judith actually did, who we're doing the multidimensional mystery school together or the shamanic multidimensional mystery school. She took me through the chakras and I really didn't even understand a lot about the chakras at that time, but each chakra gave me a message. And the message that really just like catapulted me was when I got to the third eye and it was like something just like blew open. And it was like, the message was you were a healer. And I just was sobbing. I can't even feel it in my body now. It's like, but what does that mean? And that led me to Reiki, and it led me to healing touch and to becoming, an energy worker as well as a psychotherapist and a shaman, going into deep dive because this is the other big piece. So I had a deep dive into going to a month-long training, the first one that they really had offered at Venus Rising in North Carolina back in 2011. And it cracked me wide open. It cracked my heart wide open. I had so much heart healing and so much understanding that the world is shamanic and there are all of these resources here because we're just one tiny piece of it. It's not, I'm better than another, whether it's a tree, or another person. So that's, that's a little bit of the story, Peter.
Right. So you had mentioned, so there was a lot of trauma. Not you weren't personally involved in the trauma, but you experienced the trauma because it happened to family members, multiple family members. And you mentioned that you kind of stuffed it down in your system. So do you think the shamanic work that you've done and the energy work has kind of unpackaged that, unpacked it, and brought it up so that you could transcend it or transmute it?
Definitely. We're organic beings, shamanic organic beings. And so, and we're energy and these emotions are, energy. So by stuffing my grief, which is the sadness and the anger and the fear and I learned how to just disconnect, how to, to shut down, to detach essentially. And the more that I detached, I'm still available. I can still be somewhat compassionate, but my heart, really, it's like a little bit more blockage around that heart. And that's energy. That emotion is energy. So that sadness that I felt with my father dying kind of just stayed tucked away in my body. And, and one thing after another, came, it was just built on it. So it was like a big block of energy. And the wonderful thing about human beings is that we are very adaptable. And so as we, I have a block like in my system, I can create all these other ways, these other energy, expressions to continue to function. It's sort of like a clogged vein or artery. It finds other pathways in the body to function. So most of us can function quite well, but we're only partially functioning, Peter, only, it's not even our authentic, we're wanting to come more into our wholeness, into who we are. And all of these pieces, we're compromising who I am. I learned to be what others wanted me to be, or I learned to shut down and detach to keep myself safe. Or I might have, I tried to over control situations because I really wanted my children to grow up free, different than I grew up. But I gave them really a mixed message. I have a big picture in my living room, and it's an Indian woman standing by a horse. And the message, and my husband now bought it for me because I fell in love with it. It was like, break through the boundaries and explore your world. That was my wanting. That was what I wanted to give my kids. And yet I was holding on to them. I was giving them this message like, I don't want you to go too far because I know what could happen to you. You could die. And I really wanted to make sure that nothing bad happened to them because I didn't want anything more bad to happen to me. So energy work helps, energy is a frequency. And as an energy worker, I'm able to channel this. This is all energy out here. This is the universal field. And we are able to access that energy and actually direct it. So I'm bringing it into my body and I can channel it through my own hands, through my eyes, through my heart. And it brings a certain vibrational frequency, particularly when it's passed through the heart, to support the other person in unpacking what they need to unpack and releasing where that blockage is. And so that's really what I did. And breath work is like the rotor-rooter of it. It just uses the breath, loud evocative music that's attuned to each of the chakras to open up those, those places in your body that are ready to be, to be released. And the release comes through feelings. It might come through anger. You might have to pound on some pillows. You might have to scream and vocalize, because think of how much we stuff. How much I had to stuff down my grief in my throat to open that up. It was like things expanded, and it came through, it came through screaming. And one of the breath works that I did, I'm like, I dealt with I initially dealt with my father's death, but then when I had to deal with my husband's death, I knew what I was going after. And I, asked the practitioner that was walking the floor, a body worker that can help assist you in moving that energy. I asked them, I said, put your hand here on my back. And I knew that in that place on my back is where that pain was stored, that I had stuffed. And each time they touched it, I was like, I started wailing. I mean, it was like so deep. And I just had him go over my whole back, one wail after the other of things that I had not expressed related to his loss, because I had to be strong I felt like I had to be strong for my kids, when really I was just stuffing my feelings. So yes, these techniques help break up that, we're organic. These are emotions. Our emotions are meant to be digested, just like our food.
So as a healer, it's critical then that you do self-care to kind of keep yourself able to, ready, willing, and able to heal someone else and support their journey. But as healers, we're also on a healing journey. So can you talk about how self-care is important for healers, especially when we're dealing with our own issues and trying to support others with their issues?
It's critical, because if you think about it, I had this big block, people are saying you should, maybe, work with people who have gone through grief. you know, which is, yeah, it's a great idea, but I hadn't fully creeped, you know, so I can only take another person as far as I've come, right? So, and we are constantly evolving. This is an ongoing, you know, shamanic or alchemical process. And we are constantly experiencing life. And so, you know, continuing to support ourselves, particularly when there's a lot of stress in our lives, to move the energy out of our body. Because we all have patterns, and those patterns were the defenses we learned when we were a child. And those defenses are just how we coped. And most of us didn't get a chance to digest and express our feelings. So they stayed in the body. And we found different ways, patterns, ways of being in the world that kept things shut down. But we had no idea because our viewfinder, you know, doesn't see those things. So for a, you know, for a healer, it's critical for us to role model self-care, you know, and to continually know that just because we've done our work doesn't mean that we're done. You know, it's ongoing and there's levels of it. You know, one big breakthrough, and I remember this for myself because had a huge breakthrough and it called me to Africa, you know, and I'm like, I had a heart opening. I'm like, I didn't even know what happened. It was just a boom. And it was related to these white lions in Africa. And I just got this call and a breathwork that I needed to go. But, you know, I thought, you know, oh, I had a breakthrough. My heart opened up. But what really happened was that, you know, I had a crack, you know, I didn't open up my heart. My heart just had a crack in it. So it was now beginning the process of opening it more and more and more, you know, and releasing myself from those old patterns of that disconnect, staying numb or shut down, you know, but to stay fully open, you know, holding space, connecting, you know, with myself and what's here also, and holding space for another, not trying to change them or control them or direct them, but hold them in a place for their own wisdom, their inner wisdom to come. And that's a whole different place than trying to, I think it's the difference between helping and being of service. So yes, ongoing. And I, you know, before getting on today, I was reflecting on how little, because I'm a psychotherapist, I have my master's degree in clinical psychology, but how little was required of me at that time to get to do my own personal work. I know some, you know, programs, master and PhDs require it, you know, mine did not. And I cannot, you know, even fathom it at this point in time that I didn't get to do my own work, you know, that I went into it as a service agent with really not having, you know, a real understanding of who I am. It's really about knowing who I am, knowing who we are.
So what did you find when you went to Africa?
Oh, you know, lots of personal work, you know, more work to be done. But, you know, I went to connect with these, you know, these lions, and they're white lions, and they have a big story. And that big story opened up a bigger understanding to me that we're holographic beings, or the earth, we're the microcosm. Each human being is, you know, the work that we do supports the whole, you know, so it's an ongoing evolution of who we are. And to know that Africa's where it all began. That's what I learned. And it just totally makes sense. Africa, if you took all of the, you know, all the land masses and you put them into one land mass, and it was Pangea, you know, it used to be called, and you divided it right in half, like the backbone, you know, of that land mass, completely surrounded with salt water. That backbone is the 31st meridian, which is the spine of the mother. And that correlates with our own spines. So the work we do on our spines, the work we do in our own bodies affects the world and through this evolutionary change that we're in. It was predicted by the white lions. Well, you know, Anne Maria Coso, you know, actually it was predicted by the indigenous people, not the white lions, that there would be a time when the white lions, and they're white lions with blue eyes, very large, you know, lions that carry light consciousness like the white buffalo. But when they return to Earth it would be a time of great evolutionary change on the planet. And, this is the time. And it's for us to reset, realign, to the truth of our interconnectedness, that we are interdependent and that what we do, affects the whole. We're a microcosm. So I learned so many things, but the biggest, that to know that and to see that and to feel that and to understand that this golden meridian that's, that is in the earth, it's actually in the earth, the golden seam on that 31st meridian correlates with the Milky Way. So the story is of who we are so much bigger than we could possibly imagine. That, and then I also learned from a good friend of mine who is a Mondoro, which is a medicine man in Zimbabwe, to be the I don't know woman. And I share that because to know what I know today, I had no idea yesterday, and I know that tomorrow is going to change, that we are constantly learning, evolving a new understanding of how incredibly, phenomenal this world is.
So can you tell me more about the white lions and were the white lions, what kind of helped you get through? You mentioned there was a little crack in the heart. So it sounds like you walled up your heart and behind that wall was where you're trying to get to. And there was a little crack in there and you saw a little bit of light, a little bit of energy coming out, and it made you, so it kind of gave you the idea to go to Africa, and that's where you started working on this or continued work on it. Tell me more about the white lions. What are white lions with blue eyes, and what does that signify?
They exist in, and it's interesting because they were, it's a big part of Linda Tucker's work. So we'll mention her, and she has the Global White Lion Protection Trust in Timbavati, South Africa. And she has a really big story that unfolded for her. And she has this conservation area that really, a big part of their mission, is to support the world in its coming back into alignment with, with nature. The white lions, it was a prediction that they would be, when they return, that we'd be going through a time of great evolutionary change. But they were, it was prophesied that one would be born soon by an indigenous woman by the name of Maria Koso, and she was in relationship with Linda Tucker. And this indigenous woman, shared this with Linda, and this was in, then a white lion was born. And there are I shouldn't say there's a lot, there's very few white lions. It's a specific gene. It's not, it's like, it is a subspecies of lion. So, or it's, I don't know, actually, I'm going to have to backtrack a little bit. It has its own genetic marker, I should say. Maybe that's a better way of explaining it.
So it's a recessive trait, and it's extremely rare.
And it's like the white buffalo, the white reindeer, the white, Komodo bear, and these are not albino. They are, they're considered to be carrying a divinity. It's not by the white, it's their light. They're holding a sacredness on the planet right now. And just like every animal, every tree, every person has their authentic self or their, an energy or an essence that they're bringing to earth. The white lions are here for a particular purpose to support us in this evolving. But one was predicted to come, and shortly after that prediction in 1999, one was born, or maybe it was in the year 2000, one was born in Timbavati, South Africa. No, one was born, sorry, not in Timbavati. Timbavati is where they are said to have come from. This particular white lion was born in the year 2000 in the town of Bethlehem, South Africa, on Christmas Day in the year 2000. And her name was Mara. All right. And so Mara, it's interesting because she was born in a canned camp. So very much symbolizing how this particular, how because lions are the apex predators. And here they are being harvested to be trophy species for hunters to come in. So hunters are coming in from all over the world to spend $100,000, $75,000 to $100,000 on killing killing a lion that has been actually, socialized. They take them out, they take these babies away from, there's a horrible cub, it's a cub industry where they take the cubs away from their mothers. Westerners come in and they feed them a bottle, and it feels really, really cool because it connects you with this beautiful, beautiful essence. But underneath it is this huge shadow industry because they're actually conditioning them to be used to humans. They have people walk them and then put them in a cage, and then people come and shoot them. And this industry grew rapidly, rapidly. It's called a canned camp industry, and we have it here in the United States also in different places. So this particular lion, who is named Mara by Linda and the indigenous people, she was freed eventually. She went to a zoo for a while, but eventually she was freed by Linda Tucker and brought back to Timbavati along with her 3 cubs, and really a symbolic representation of freedom. And this is really what we're all doing. We're finding some freedom from our own imprisonment, our own codependency. All of these things are a big part of it. So when I went there, I went with for sacred warriorship training with Andrew Harvey. That was and I didn't know anybody. I just ended up doing this against every bone in my body said, you can't do this. You don't have the money. You don't have the time, whatever. It's too scary. What are you going to do? What are they going to expect of you? I mean, all those fears and all those ways that we deny it, I had to really, truly surrender, because I had no clue, what was going to unfold and what even meant to do warriorship training. But the warriorship training was really an internal process. When I broke my heart open, cracked that heart open, it was because there was a part of my own inner warrior from this lifetime and probably many lifetimes, where the energy would come up from the lower chakras and it would want to build, to really put it out there in the world. But I felt helpless. I can't, what can I do? Nobody listens anyway. And I just gave up over and over and over again. So the energy would come up and would wash down my arms. And it's like, there's too much as a healer. There's too many people to heal. How in the world can I make a difference? Don't we all go through that? It's like, how can my one little tiny step make such a difference in the world? But the first thing, the thing I got out of, the biggest thing is like that I got was a simple message, guys, I'm like, this is my core wound. Nobody listens. Why bother? And then it was like, no, it doesn't matter whether anybody listens. That was the message that came through me, that was feeded back to me, the mirror to me. Carley, it doesn't matter whether somebody listens, it's to speak your truth, and I first have to really learn what is my truth, because today's truth can be tomorrow's ego. So I have to continually re-examine what my truth is, and it has to come through the heart. We have to heal this heart piece. And so little by little, that heart, crack began to grow wider and wider. And I allowed myself more freedom to cry, to feel, to digest the feelings, to be even with my anger, Peter. Those things that I'd never allowed myself to have began to be, I'd be able to access more. So a little bit about the white lions and a little bit that pulls that piece together, and what drew me then to the warrior, because the warrior piece just kept coming up. And that's my next book. It's like, it wasn't like it's coming through me. It's not like I'm going after it. It's like it's telling me what needs to be written and what my work is that I need to do to heal myself. This is my work to heal. And healing myself, the work that comes through, is the work that I bring to the world.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So what is your favorite self-care technique?
Because of this, what I do, I do energy work and I do shamanic breath work, and guided meditations. And it happens to be my favorite work. It speaks to me. There are other things, I like to exercise. I think that's important. I do a little bit of yoga. I love to go camping and be outdoors, but if I'm really needing to move energy, it's through energy work or through the shamanic breathwork process, which is a technique that was trademarked by Linda Starwolf in Venus Rising.
Do you think you could demonstrate a technique, shamanic breathwork?
Oh, you know what I could do? The breathwork. One of the things with breathwork is that it has several different components, and one is the chakra to music. So I'm not going to be able to do that today, but I can do a little bit of drumming for people, and just have them connect to their breath. And we can kind of go into the body a little bit, and just kind of maybe even imagine that we're on that 31st meridian, which is a longitudinal meridian that goes through the continent of Africa, which connects with our own spine. We can connect a little bit that way and just experience what it's like to connect with the earth. Would that be good?
Sounds great.
Awesome. So I have my little drum here. So I invite everybody to take, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes and go inward. And just connect with this drum beat. It's like a heartbeat. Take a deep breath in and fully expand your chest and your lungs. And then when you exhale, I want you to let it out with a sigh. Maybe a sound of some sort. So breathing in. And breathing out forcefully. Let's do that with a sound now. Breathing in. And do that a couple more times. We're breathing in this beautiful oxygen. We are in a symbiotic relationship to the tree people. They are often called in shamanic terms, or the standing tall ones. We are recognizing more and more our interdependence with the trees. Through photosynthesis, they produce oxygen, the exact thing that we need to bring into our bodies, to connect with this air, the element of air, and fill our bodies so that this beautiful oxygen moves between every molecule and every atom in our being. So as you're taking these deep breaths, continue to breathe now. You're creating space in your body. And when you exhale, you are releasing. Just let go of any stress. Just breathe out, maybe even imagining that stress as a color, maybe gray or black or whatever color it is. Maybe yours is a different color. Just breathe that out. You're creating space, room in your body, in your physical body. But know that we have around us subtle bodies as well, our biofield. And when you breathe in and out, you may also be releasing from any parts of those fields. Everything is changing. There's alchemy. And when you breathe out, that carbon dioxide is exactly what the trees need and the plants. They take that in as their medicine. They hang on to that carbon for their own growth. And then they breathe out that oxygen. We are working together. That is shamanic. We are interdependent. So now drop down into your heart space. And just breathe into your heart. Let that oxygen go wherever it is needed, where you might feel some heaviness or density. And then I want you to draw from your heart space with your breath, using your breath. Go down your body, from your heart to your solar plexus, right there between your rib cage. Down into your belly, down into the place that's right at the base of your spine, down your legs, all the way down to your ankles and your feet. Taking breath, remember to breathe that down your body, and at the bottom of your feet and your soles, I want you to imagine that you too have roots. And the energy is going out the bottoms of your feet. And it's going down into the earth. No matter that you were sitting in a house, the energy goes through all of that structure of the house and down into the earth. Down into the different layers of the dark, rich soil. Through those microorganisms, the sand, the sediment, the water, the crystals. Just allow yourself to feel like your energy is like the tree roots, seeking out the nourishment that you need for yourself. And soon you come upon the earth's heart. Mother Earth is here to ground us and support us. We are working in tandem. She is in us. We hold all of these things in our bodies. We have crystals, rocks. We are of earth. So connect with her heart. She's got a golden pyramid here, iron core. This iron is in us. So just let her hold you. You might even let that energy wrap yourself around her heart and feel her heartbeat come up through the roots of your own energy field and travel up through all of those layers. She greets you with love and support. She wants you to know that she has your back. She holds you when the stress gets too great. You can count on her. Just breathe down into your body and connect with her. Her energy now is coming up. And it's coming up through the soles of your feet, through your legs, through the base of your spine, through your whole body, up that spine. Remember, I mentioned that spine is very much like that 31st meridian in Africa. That spine is in us too. We are opening up the flow of energy in these chakras, which are energy centers in our own body. Move up into your own heart space. Take a deep breath here. Feel your heart expand with the great mother holding you. Feel the love that she has for you. This is the great integrator, our heart space. It brings heaven to earth. It brings love and compassion to the world that can seem so out of control sometimes. Once we see this higher perspective and we channel it through this place, everything shifts. So let this energy now go up a little bit into your throat chakra. Maybe first those lungs and that high heart, into your throat. Feel it fill your head. Connect with that third eye, which is right between your eyelids, your eyebrows, and your forehead. And then it moves up into the top of your head, which is the crown. And just begin to imagine that crown softening and opening. And the energy of your own body, along with the earth, is pushing against that. And it begins to open like a waterfall. And the energy goes up like a tree branch. And it reaches for the sky, reaches for the stars, reaches for the heavens, the sun and the moon. This is where we receive our inspirations, our downloads, our connection to something greater than ourselves, the ancestors. Just let that grow. Let your tree branches grow. And And see if you can find something that speaks to you, maybe a star, or maybe it's the sun, maybe it's the Milky Way and the cosmos. Just breathe into that space. We are so connected. It is so expansive. And just feel the pulse of the universe, where we connect to all that is. There's no separation. We are it all. And very supported. And let that energy come back down now into you. Feel it come down those branches through the top of your head, into your third eye, down, completely filling up your headspace, coating it with incredibly beautiful energy. Down your throat, feel your throat open to speak your voice and your truth, to see things in new ways and speak them into being through that heart. Just bring it down into your heart space and just let that energy go all the way down your body. And just imagine at this moment in time, you have a river connecting inside of you, of the great below and the great above, that we are supported, we are grounded, we are aligned. And just breathe back down into that heart space. And just for a moment, I want you to take a little bit more rapid breaths. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And just right now, feel the tinglingness going on in your body as you begin to integrate this experience of the great below and the great above in your own body. Expansiveness, clarity, connectedness, wholeness, balance, clear-headedness. So you as a healer can be fully present to whoever you are working with, and most importantly, to yourself. So taking a deep breath, connecting with your heart space. Bring yourself back to your body, wiggling your fingers and your toes. Connecting with your breath. Feeling yourself sitting in your chair. You're feeling the firmness of that chair. Just notice what's going on around you. Notice that the energy has changed. That in this moment in time, you are maybe feeling a little more alive, maybe a little more present. So whenever you're ready, open your eyes and come back. Touch the table, maybe even touch your own face, and you put your hands on your heart and take a deep breath. I bet everybody buzzing a little bit, I think.
More than a little bit.
Yeah, so you might take a drink of water. That's really a good thing to drink water. What we're doing, we did a smooth energy. We created a little bit more expansion in our field to be more present. Yeah, so that is why this is a drumming and a meditation. When we're doing shamanic breath work, we do it in a place where, it's we create a safe container for people to go inward, and with the breath and with music, and a little bit of guided meditation and creating a safe container around them, you know, calling in ancestors, you know, that we, you know, create that sense of safety. And then we journey. And it's a great way for me to release what needs to be released, because when I know I'm busy a lot. And so I can be busy and not in my body. But when I do a breath work, it allows me, or even a meditation allows me to come back, to feel more centered, because I can be detached. Like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, you know, and the mind goes, and, you know, or there's a lot of stress we're feeling that we're not articulating. And this helps us, like, okay, I'm supported, I'm grounded in the earth here. And you can call in for no matter what, you know, religion you are or what spirituality you own, Peter. There can be, you know, folks that are watching, you can use whatever it is. If it's Mother Mary, if it's Jesus, if it's Buddha, you know, if it's your, you know, your family of lineage ancestors, you can call in your angels, whatever feels right for you, because we're all unique about how we're supported. It can be your pet. You can have your dog or your cat join you, you know, those that have passed on or those that are present fully in our lives. So we know that we can call them up through just imagining them in our mind, and they are energetically with us. So I wanted to mention that too. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So how can we contact you if our audience has any questions, if they want to experience this breath work a little bit more?
Well, I can give them my email address. And I can give them my website. And my email is Carley, CarleyMattim, as in Mary, ORE @gmail.com. And I have the work that I do here in terms of workshops, as well as, you know, private shamanic breathworks and group shamanic breathworks and trainings. We do something called the Shamanic Healing Initiatory Process, also warriorship training. That information can come through www.ahara, which is AAHARA, spiritualcommunity.org. And there, you know, on that website, there'll be all the different workshops that we offer. And also in May, I will have my own private website, and that will be my name, Carley, Carley, Mattimore, Mattimore, .com. Basically, that's it. Yep. I'm not used to saying it because it's going to come out in April. CarleyMattimore.com, which will be my website. So those are the best ways, probably. You can also find me on Facebook. I have several Facebook pages that people could access. One is just my name, Carley Mattimore, also Ahara Spiritual Community. And I also have a Facebook page on my book, which I co-authored with Linda Starwolf. And it has, you know, different resources on there to support people through quotes and upcoming things that might be related to the book. Like I'm teaching a class right now on the book, a 10-week class for people to dive more into the mysteries of this work that I just expressed to people. I can show them that. You want me to show them the book?
Yes, please.
It is Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa, the Land of Zeptepi, and it was co-authored with Linda Starwolf. So.
Excellent. So thank you so much. I want to thank you for your pearls of wisdom and the experience. It was amazing. And I would like to thank our audience for being present on our journey for self-care. And until next time, be well.